Do 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 do. Here's Geeks Assembled again, and yes, we are Audio Heads is back this week after Christmas break, and this week we are talking about the the wonderful dynamic duo of Jago and Lightfoot and the Series 6 and all their great adventures. They're back in the Victorian times, which should make Lee very happy. Yay.
Oh, yes.
He prefers the Victorian times to just about anything else.
Too right.
And let's see. This time, oh, hang on just a moment. And this 4-part box set is really amazing. It's got the Skeleton Quay, meaning the skeleton little bay or inlet, by Jonathan Morris, and then The Return of the Repressed by Matthew Sweet, Military Intelligence by George Mann, and The Trial of George Lightfoot. What? He's in trouble?
Oh, yes.
By Justin Richards. Yeah. So we've got some great stories here. And Lee, what's your opening thoughts on Series 6 of Jago and Lightfoot?
Thank God they're back from the 60s. It just, as I said in the last Jago and Lightfoot cast, for me, it didn't work. They were a fish out of water, but they used the town cabinet to get back to their own town. And I do like the idea that the memories of their time in the future is gradually fading.
Yeah.
So they don't remember any of that. So
yeah.
that's a good get out clause, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, a cracking box set. For me, 3 out of the 4 of the stories, bang on. One of the stories was so damn confusing. Can you guess which one it is?
The Return of the Repressed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to that one.
All right, yeah. So tell me about the Skeleton Quay or Quay. It's always spelled Quay, right?
Quay, yeah, but Quay. Yeah, a pretty damn, to start the box set off with. It's a sort of a ghost story. Is it Shingles Bay?
Yeah.
But Lightfoot and Jago and Lightfoot are asked to do work for Her Majesty Queen Victoria.
Again.
Or are they? By the mysterious Colonel. And he sends them on a mission to, find out what's going on at Shingles Bay with mysterious sightings and things like that of, the village, what vanished under the sea and stuff like that. And it is quite a spooky one with the fog coming in.
Yeah, this is like the first out of this. This week really should be considered our foggy week.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah, we didn't even have a connection there until just then.
Until just now, yeah. It's like this is about the fog and what the fog can bring. Okay.
Yeah, I really did enjoy this one because you say no sooner is the story started, Jago and Lightfoot have sort of split up.
Yeah.
Then the fog comes in, and then there's this mysterious sea captain, and there's the mysterious woman who they met on the train, and
oh my gosh,
yeah, it's quite. I like it. It's just a little eerie tale
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on that one. Return of the Repressed.
Uh,
It's a good story, but I just don't know what it's about. Because baboons, Sigmund Freud.
yeah, all of the above.
It was so damn confusing. But we found out that Jago's having therapy sessions with Freud.
Yeah.
Uh, then Lightfoot befriends a baboon,
Yeah.
and sort of treats him as like a human being, and
Yeah.
uh,
Can understand him as he speaks.
yeah, it was so confusing, this one. it was, that's Freudian. Um, well, good, well acted, but it's just one of those really surreal stories, and you think, am I actually understanding this as I'm listening to it? Even in the documentaries at the end, on the end of this box set, with
Right.
even Trevor Baxter says this story, he didn't really get what was going on. He didn't think it was type of Jago Lightfoot story. But it was as
Oh,
soon as he got into doing the scripts and doing the acting, he says, "Oh yeah, it fits. It challenges you.
yeah. It's definitely different.
Very different." Um, and then we go to the third story, the military intelligence, where we have
You know who I would have loved to have thrown into this is Alice, not Alistair, but Alexander uh,
yeah,
Lethbridge Stewart. You know, the father.
yeah. I mean, this one is with the, what do they call them? The mechanical. This military intelligence. Do they call them Sentinels? Yeah, Sentinels.
Yeah.
The mechanical robot
Yeah.
army. What the Colonel has been creating, because we found out that the Colonel is a bad guy,
Yeah.
um, and kidnaps Lightfoot. Yeah, it was Lightfoot he kidnaps, isn't it? And
Yeah.
Jago suit. And it turns out, of course, the Colonel isn't really working for the Queen.
Right.
He he wants the demise of the monarchy.
Right.
Um, and then by the end of the this one, we see that sort of the death of Jago.
Apparently. Oh my gosh.
Apparently in a it was in an explosion or something like that. And Lightfoot's arrested on the murder of Jago at the end of this
Oh,
story.
that's so crazy.
Hence the fourth story called The Trial of George Lightfoot,
Yeah.
which is a brilliant courtroom comedy. um,
It was funny.
it was funny because the person who's defending him is Jago in disguise.
Guys.
But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed all four. I mean, even the surreal one, it just took me out there, and I'm thinking, wow, I've got to come back down to earth after listening to that one and carry on listening to the story. But yeah, a great box set.
Yeah.
What was your take on it all then, Susan?
Well, I loved how I mean, they really showed like, especially in the Return of the Repressed, they were kind of showing how like every character in in this story has a light side and a dark side, and you can see that they're trying to set up the fact through that the colonel isn't good, even though he was purported to be working for Her Majesty. And once again, you get some of he gets some of Jago's great single consonant alliteration streams. I stinking love that. I love that. And like then, I mean, you could say that the military intelligence was kind of like a Doctor Who story about robots, but it was like the automatons or whatever they called them were a really interesting take on this, and various other people have tried to, secure their strength by increasing their military might by robots or that sort of thing. I mean, like there was that Doctor Who story in set in the site with the cyber lady and her steampunk big huge cyber warrior. Anyway, like there was lots of those kind of feelings that were brought up by that story. Again, I think that it would be great if Sir Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart's father would have been involved, but I always think that these things would be great, but they didn't have them figured out yet, so it doesn't, you can't really ask for things that they haven't even worked out yet. And the trial of George Lightfoot, where Jago's in a disguise, and then at the very end of the story, they both have to change their name because they have to figure out how to clear all of this up. That was hilarious.
They're on the run.
Uh-huh. And they are on the run. And so I really enjoyed it, and I like the fact that the fog became a person. That was the first thing that really clued you into the fact that the next go around the there would be like that connection that the baboon was a person too. I just think that was like the two sides of personality just got described. Like everybody has a good side and a bad side, a light side, dark side thing, and I know that that's more Far Eastern, I Ching thing, the circle with the black and the white and the two dots. That's very Far Eastern, but they're no stranger to Far Eastern, as with Talons and Wing Chang. They really have sort of an intellectual fair use of all of the interesting cultures of especially the Far East, just by them being who they are, because they've been so involved with these things for so many years. And it's always good. The performances were fantastic. And I just love Ellie. I love how she supports them and comes up behind them. And I really loved the work that I can't remember if it was George or the Colonel or played by Jeffrey Whitehead, or Sergeant Quick played by Conrad Asquith. But one of those two guys sounded just like Lisa's husband. What's his name again? Anyway.
Mr. Warner.
David Warner, yeah. Mm. I was struggling. I thought that I kept hearing David Warner's voice, and maybe it's just because I'm really so surprised that he passed away this year. I mean, like that's just to me that just it doesn't it's not fair. Doesn't make sense.
I think I can understand where you're coming from with the voice thing. It was the Colonel.
It was the Colonel. It was Jeffrey Whitehead.
Yeah, he been playing it villainously as he does.
Yeah,
and with with David Warner playing so many superb villains,
Uh
you sort of get the pronunciations, the tone of the voice so similar when you're doing a villain.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, seriously. Like that was really challenging to my ear because I couldn't not hear David Warner, and I guess I need to like hear his voice in reality. So now I'm gonna have to go Google him. But it was a really good story. I mean, like these these machines that he was making and stuff, that was really cool. I could see it like aiming towards what's that called? Not Jules Verne, but like steampunk. That's what it is
yeah.
called. It's kind of like this whole you know, um, pretty cool gauges and dials and wiring and um piping and all of that stuff, creating these hydraulic, because when the soldiers moved, they moved with hydraulic sounds. So that
Mm.
was the interesting thing, is like that, you know
Hissing.
it's very steampunk. Yeah, anyway, I enjoyed it a lot.
I mean,
So
I did like the idea that the four stories was leading up to the big um, reveal that Jago and Lightfoot were being used by the Colonel. So, spoilers, and and
this was released in
I know,
2012.
I
It's
know,
like
but
it's like 11 years old. You don't have to say spoilers.
you know, you sometimes you get people saying, "Oh, I haven't heard it yet,"
All right, all right.
but and you know, it's great reveal that they're going to frame Lightfoot for the assassination of
Yes.
Queen Victoria. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
that's what it all was leading to.
yep. But the only person they could pin that on, or the only death that they could pin on him is Jago.
But yeah, and
And
Jago did a brilliant job as the defense lawyer.
I know, and that's and in that
That's
defense.
that's so that's such a good job that they both got arrested.
Yeah, and in that defense, he was able to use that long-winded
Yeah.
single consonant alliteration. Oh my gosh, I just love how he speaks. Jago is the writing, right, anybody writing for Jago had better get that in there.
Hmm.
That's a
And also as well with the as you mentioned, you know, Ellie, the character of Ellie with Elisa Bowman, but also as well with Sergeant Quick.
Sergeant
They,
Quick. Yeah,
they gave Ellie and Sergeant Quick a little bit more to do in this book set, and sort of teamed them up together.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
That's
know,
what I was saying.
so they was like a little team, doing their own stuff, helping out.
Yeah,
So that was a good thing because sometimes you get these characters and they're hardly ever in the stories.
yeah,
You know, so I'm glad they had something meaty to do.
yeah. And the way that they were always like, there at the end,
Hmm.
ready to support and ready to, anyway, that was great. And did you so do you want to do 7 before too long? Just because this was, and unlike the ones before this really ended on a kind of a dramatic cliffhanger. This box set did. This whole box set.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
did.
usually they do a little hook for the next one. This time it's just a proper cliffhanger. It's just like, now what? What's next for these boys?
They're having to run and hide from the law.
Yeah, so let's try and get one in before too long because of the cliffhanger.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, yeah.
good. And so any anything really stand out to you?
It, to me, as you've said it mainly, that the way Jago just is the way he talks, his verbal words, his his pompous. Um,
Very.
but I did like the way he was defending Lightfoot, and then when Lightfoot found out it was him, he just thought, oh no. I just like the way that, like, in the courtroom, there was going on about the did they see Mr. Jago, and they were saying all this about his character being a bit of a awful
A loser, yes.
loser, and Jago in disguise. He said, "I prepare, I."
Oh my god. Oh, oh geez. I mean they ran him down so hard. And
Yeah,
he was like, I disagree. I object.
I object. But it's great. I mean, Jago Lightfoot. I mean, this is Series 6. The comedy is always been there in every story,
Mm-hmm.
but without these two actors bringing those words to life,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I don't think it would have worked. You've got the right characters, and these characters are going back to the 1970s, of course.
Uh-huh. Yes,
You
it
know,
was.
they were chosen to play these characters back then. They were being given the chance to reprise the roles, and it's like they've never been away.
Yeah.
It's like they've slipped on those old familiar pairs of shoes. They're
And
still
that one apron and that one big big voluminous uh coat for the theater.
but
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
it's great writing, great acting, and with the element of supernatural and comedy. You'd say it'll never work, but it does.
Oh my gosh, it's so great.
So yeah, brilliant, brilliant box set. Even if I was a bit confused with the second story.
Well, yeah, I just love the fact that you end up with Jago uh on the couch, the resting couch, I guess is what they would call it, in front of
Even getting pushed into the monkey house.
yeah, in front of the great Freud.
Yeah,
And then Sigmund Freud, I mean, like how that they captured like this Austrian accent, and they said it they said it in Vienna, and then they brought it to London, like, just, not that they weren't I don't think he ever was in London. I don't even know anything about Sigmund Freud, but I just know that he's like the father of and all these, and it brought up all this stuff from their past, which was great, like their parents and and who they were, and I just like all these things that they brought up was just it gave you a lot more understanding, or story. The story arc tells a lot about the about their childhood and stuff, and that's really tremendous.
but yeah, I mean, I was a bit, as I've said, I was disappointed with the last box set. Brilliant writing though, as it was, just didn't do it for me. So this for back on form.
Yeah,
So I was quite happy to sit through these, and listen through, a couple of nights just listening to these.
yeah. So how many baboons out of 10 will you give this?
Well, seeing as I was slightly confused with the baboons, but it's still funny.
Maybe he's going to go with the ghosts.
The, what shall I give it? I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it an 8.5, which is bad. It was just a bit confusion with the baboon thing, and it scrambled my head. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 8.5. What shall we go for? Horse-drawn carriages
Oh, nice.
out of 10.
Yeah, you can definitely hear the horse-drawn carriages. How they do that sort of thing. That's amazing. Okay, let's see. I enjoyed it. I think the first one. I think the first one really relates to what we're doing this weekend.
Yeah.
But I also think that I think that the I will get because because it's so wonderful. I'll give this a 9. I'll give this 9 baboons, I guess, out of 10. 9 baboon dreams out of 10, and just would like to remind people that that people usually have the ability when the TARDIS door is open and when they've traveled with the TARDIS a little bit to have some conversation with other species, other aliens, other things, in proper Queen's English, or it's a little northern or a little Scottish or whatever, but it tends to color their communication to be very British, but this time they weren't in they didn't have that to translate, so it was done as a part of the psyche. So the part of the psyche that's pretty fun, is that they would relate to the psyche that way. And like I just said, I just don't know, Lee, I don't know anything about Sigmund Freud at all. And I mean, I you could have written him on the moon and I would have been like, okay, because I know so little about him as a even having taken basic psychology in uni. I was just like, I personally, I don't know his whole story, but I love how they once again found a historical figure that they could accurately portray, and that's fun. I mean, that's just fun. That's one of those things that's really, really wonderful about spin-offs from Doctor Who, is that they do have the luxury of really expressing how how cool it is to meet a historical figure and have interactions with them and end up actually in the case of our heroes being psychoanalyzed by said historical figures. So that's fun. And and you don't get that in all these other shows. I mean, unless it's on the holodeck in Star Trek, or and because the other the Star Wars galaxy is not even in this one. So there's just it's so good that they can that they have through time travel and through just setting things back in time, able to connect with people like that. So that's fun for me. And it's one of the great graces of the Doctor Who universe, is that all of this is all these figures are just amazing. And I've learned a lot actually about the past by watching and listening to Jago Litefoot. And so yay for that. Anyway, I know a little bit more about Dr. Sigi Freud than I knew before. Anyway,
Good.
yeah, so I'm glad for all of that. How wonderful it is to join with us. If you'd like to come along and join with us and participate on these audio adventures, yeah, we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Just have a camera, microphone, device to join us in the Zoom and be available Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
UK time. Yeah.
Greenwich Mean Time.
Yeah.
That would be great. And since you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like button. Just help our algorithm just a little bit, because we really aren't very big. So just doing this for fun, actually, year after year, and
keeps us out of trouble.
Yeah. And then when you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and you'll get a nice notifier every time we put out something new, which it'll be every week, a couple things. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for joining me, Lee. And yeah. Oh, corks! I can't finish this podcast. Oh, corks!
Lummy.
Oh, lummy.